It's Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Gross, and Jeff Goodman. Tonight, we talk about The Boxer, Spitting in the Face of the Devil, and How Now, Dow Jones.
Charlie,
Yes.
the other day I was headed down to see a show in the Fringe Festival, and it was a show called The Check Is in the Mail. And you know what happened?
What happened, Jeff?
The check wasn't in the mail. It seems they canceled the performance that day. So, being the Fringe, I took a look at the next...
Whatever did you do?
Well, Charlie, being the Fringe, I went to the next venue and saw that there was another play at exactly the same time, or a couple of minutes later.
Really?
That is true.
And then what did you do, Jeff?
I went up 3 flights of stairs to see a show called Spitting in the Face of the Devil.
Jeff almost said the word that he said after he climbed 3 flights of stairs.
I did that too.
And how was Spitting in the Face of the Devil?
Well, now I have to get a little serious because this is a very interesting show. It's an autobiographical show, and this man, it's a one-man show by Bob Brader, and it's all about his relationship with his father, which was not at times the nicest of relationships. As a matter of fact, his father was a pretty horrible man to him. And there are some twists and turns which I don't want to get into because it's such a it's a fascinating story. And it's a brilliant one-man show. But
And it's told in like a Spalding Gray manner. He sits at a desk and just tells it.
yeah, he very rarely gets up and he tells it, but you are just riveted by what is going on with these people. Well, so this guy Bob Brader, you can see here. See, I'm Bob Brader. I had to use that. I had the picture. See, and he actually turned out to be okay. But I met him after the show, and he agreed to come down to the studio for an interview. And we interviewed him, didn't we, Charlie?
Well, we did, and actually he did much more than just give us an interview. He actually did a scene from Spitting in the Face of the Devil. So why don't we go take a look at that scene and then our interview.
I think that's an excellent idea. But I must say, Spitting in the Face of the Devil, definite must-see. And I don't like one-man shows, as you all know.
And how many playbills would you give it?
I would give it a good 3 3/4 to 4 bills.
Okay, well, let's see why.
The studio in the heart of Lancaster, PA is my new home. My home, my first apartment. And I am more excited about this move than I have been about any other because it is mine. And Michelle is only a half-hour bus ride away from my place. I'm so excited about this move that I decided that I'm going to take my sleeping bag and spend the first night in my new apartment on the floor before my furniture arrives in the afternoon. I catch the last bus from Millersville, and I get to my place very late and very tired. I have to use my lighter to get the key in the lock of the private entrance of my new apartment. I throw the sleeping bag on the floor, and I lay down to get some rest. Start to doze. Oh, my nose is a little itchy. That's weird. Oh, my arm's itchy. My neck is itchy, too. Something just crawled in my mouth. I pull my lighter out of my pocket just in time to see a large black roach fall from my hair onto the sleeping bag. I jump up and the colony of bugs in my apartment. There's roaches, water bugs, bugs with multiple legs that look hairy, and these thin little black bugs I don't even know the name of. It's like I stepped into some kind of bug village and all the residents have come out to see the new species that has just moved in. I run out of my apartment and spend the rest of the night half sleeping and crying on the stairs of my new apartment. But the next morning, I'm not sad anymore. I am angry. How dare these bugs try and steal my apartment from me? I went to the hardware store. I need something strong that will kill all different kinds of bugs. He handed me a box with a skull and crossbones on it, and underneath in tiny lettering, the word poison. I got the box home, opened the box. Inside was a bag filled with a white powder. I poured it all over my apartment. By the time I was done, my apartment looked like a coke lover's dream. I was hoping to watch each bug come out and die right in front of me. I went to Michelle's place and rescheduled my move for the next day. When I came back to my apartment, I literally had to sweep up all the dead bugs lying all over my floor. Ha! I won this round. My furniture arrived, and for the next few days, I didn't see a single bug in my apartment. One day, I decided I was going to eat in instead of eating out. I got myself a chicken breast and some instant mashed potatoes. I am going to have a feast. I put the chicken breast on a tray, popped it into the oven, lit the pilot light, and turned on the gas. The familiar sound of the gas igniting gave way to a sound that I had never heard before. It was like a scream, and before I could even wonder what it was, a waterfall of roaches poured out of my oven. Somehow they knew I didn't cook, and they nested in my oven. They were everywhere. I had to jump up on a chair to get away from them. Where was I going to find them next? Oh, I went to Michelle's. You've been here like a lot lately. I need to study. You can stay for a while, but you cannot spend the night. As I was taking the last bus home, all I kept thinking was how happy I was to be closer to Michelle and how happy I was to have my own apartment and how both of those things were just not working out the way I planned.
And our guest for this evening is Bob Brader, or Brader? Brader, excuse me, who is performing, what is he performing, Jeff? You saw it.
Spitting in the Face of the Devil.
Ah, so has he been spitting in your face?
Not in my face.
Well, I guess you're not the devil.
Thank God.
Okay.
I had a good family. I came out, let me tell you, not a happy story, Bob's story.
Well, as I understand, this is in the vein of Spalding Gray, who
Yes.
you sit down, you're at a table with a glass of water, and you're telling the story.
Yeah, basically, I loved Spalding Gray all my life, and I always wanted to do something like that. And this story to me was like, I just wanted people to hear the story. I didn't want to be running around or acting anything out. I wanted people to really listen to it. So I thought that would be the best way to do it.
And let me tell you something. You are one of the bravest people in show business because this is his true life story. And this is not an easy story. It's really a hard story to listen to. I don't know how you recount it every night.
Well, I'm gonna
and you were just naked out there. It's like, bloom, there it is.
Now I'm going to get to what apparently is one of the easier parts of the story. Your new apartment.
Yes.
Filled with bugs.
Yes.
Did you finally get rid of them?
Actually, no. The whole time that I was living in that apartment, there were bugs all over the place. It was like, after a while, even like the boric acid stuff didn't work.
But at least you didn't have bed bugs. Those are...
No, no.
I'd rather have roaches, to be honest.
Yeah, well, they stayed away from my bed, which was really amazing because I've heard all these stories about people who have had roaches and they crawl in their ears and everything. I never had a problem with them getting up on my bed, which was nice.
Yes. Now the description of this play is the fathers sin, the sons have to basically rectify that. And reading here, little Bobby nearly killed his father.
Yes.
Bob Sr., was that you?
Yes, that was me.
How old were you?
I was about 15, 16.
So you weren't so little.
No, but my
You have to
nickname.
understand this family has nicknames.
Right, everyone in my family has a nickname. And my nickname was Little Bobby because my dad was Big Bob.
Okay. So kind of like in How I Learned to Drive.
Yes. But yes, and I was definitely
You're really
not
borrowing
pleased.
from some very good Spalding Gray. How I
But you have
Learned
to
to-
understand,
Yes.
there was also the fact that he couldn't be called Junior or Junie because that was already taken.
Right, my Uncle Junie had that, and that was his nickname for the family.
Okay. So I'm going to assume that at the time you weren't just playing with the knife and it nearly went into your father.
No, no. He was not the most pleasant man on the planet. He was. I had found out some things about him, and in finding out those things, it made me very unhappy. So I did take a knife and came very close to stabbing him. If it wouldn't have been for my mom, who shifted, just didn't wake up, she just shifted on the bed. If that wouldn't have happened, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today.
Have some interesting cellmates to be
Yes,
told.
exactly.
But it's very much a story of survival.
Yeah.
It's a story of hope too, because I think always through this you were always hopeful that there was something better. You know, when you talk to certain people, it just seemed like it was all innocent.
Thank you.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I went through the whole thing. I mean, the turn it takes, Charlie, you will just not believe.
You went through the whole thing, you mean seeing the play? Or
When I saw the play,
Okay.
Bob
You didn't try to
takes
stab your father?
Bob takes no.
Okay.
Bob takes you on this journey.
Maybe not.
It's really amazing. The journey you go through as an audience member. I physically became uncomfortable. There was a whole issue with, I'm sorry to tell the whole world, they're wetting the bed.
Yeah.
But there's a whole issue, and there's much more that goes on to that is very painful to watch and to listen to. And so many things happen, but he survives. And just one after another, even though you don't even know what's happening, it's these compounding things. And then it takes this turn that I never saw coming.
How did you ultimately? How did you survive? How did you spit in the face of the devil?
By living well is always the best revenge. So to me, it was the fact that we were able to do this show, and every single time I put it on, and every single time I tell this story, to me it is again spitting at him because...
Is he still alive?
No, he's not.
You have to understand, the show opens, we find out your father died. You'll find out your father died because some obscure cousin calls you. Yeah. I love that. I like the fact that, do you ever find out where she found your phone number from?
Never. She calls me out of the blue. I didn't talk to her for 10 years. And then she calls me and tells me my dad has died.
and your reaction was? And then he calls his sister, and her reaction was?
What about your mother? It sounds like she must have had a very hard life.
Yeah, well, she did, and I think we try and show that in the show. Is that she's dealing with it as well as I was trying to deal with it. Both of us were dealing with it in different ways. You know, I was coming to terms with everything that was happening, and she was not hiding her head in the sand, but she was letting a lot go. But it's just because of the time and what she was brought up with. So.
Was she still married to him when he died?
No, she was not.
So ultimately they divorced.
Yes, ultimately
but
they did.
You have to go see the show. This is what makes this story. It's a very compelling story, Charlie. It just, you sit there and you're really riveted, and sometimes it's hard. It's how many minutes? I mean, it was just slightly over an hour, right?
It's 85 minutes.
And at some points you sit there and you go, wow, can he have a good life already?
Okay, well, it looks like you are having a good life.
Well,
yeah.
You know, he came out of it okay, but Charlie, this was tough. This was.
I'll have to take your word for it. Now, unfortunately, the Fringe Festival is a very limited venue, so the show's only going to play a few performances, and I don't think it will be around once this airs. But
well, when does your show?
Are there any plans for it in the future?
Well, I mean, I will keep doing it as long as people allow me to, and that's one of the great things about the Fringe is that you can do a show like this, which is edgier and has a what I feel is a lot of meat to it, and it does get to a different audience and allows people to come in and see it.